Welcome to Patrick's Book Reviews. All right, looks good. I'll stop here, I think. All right, welcome back, everyone. Just to get the elephant out of the room here, some of my more acute observers or perceptive viewers may notice a little bit of a change in me. My head was shrunken, and I'll explain what happened. Earlier this week, I was abducted by Bornean head shrinkers, which is not a good thing. And I had to do some negotiating because normally when your head is shrunken, they do sever your head. But I was able to negotiate a bit. So we agreed that they would shrink my head. But I said, in order to keep it attached to my neck, they said they said I had to give up a little bit more. So to do that, unfortunately, I had to give up my hairline as well. So that was kind of collateral damage, but it is what it is. So yeah, if you noticed, I look a little different. That is why. Today, though, I'm not here to talk about my small head. I'm here to talk about a train tag that, I actually forgot the name of the tag. Something with trains. I forgot to write that down, but I'm sure I'll have it correct in the title. I was tagged by my friend Derek Green, and a few of our other friends have also done this tag by now. I know Mike at Bibliophile Bookscapes did it, and Alex did it as well. They both did a great job with it. But this tag originated, there's like a March on the Rails event, which I'm not participating in, but it's basically where you read a book with something to do with trains. And the hosts of that are at Alan Reads, at Ghost Readers in the Sky, at Infinite Text, and at Rainer Reads Stuff. And so I think I'll just kind of tag back to Derek's video, and you can get it from there. And the last part of this tag is tagging others. And again, I'll assume between kind of like Derek and Mike, they probably got pretty much everyone I would tag. However, I will say right before I hit the record button, I got a message from someone who watched my TBR video, and she's participating in March of the Mammoths, and she's reading War and Peace, which I thought was really cool because I love that book. And she mentioned that she's just starting out here on BookTuber. She's fairly new, and I haven't checked out her channel yet. I'll probably do that later today because I was just getting ready to record. But I'll tag her for this video, and her name is Elena G, and it's at Elena Reads and Journals. So again, I know we like to support small channels here in this little corner, and she's just getting started out. So I thought I would mention her and tag her. And so again, I guess I can't technically endorse her channel because I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, she's reading War and Peace, so she's got to be pretty cool. So I'll just link to her channel as well. All right. And so for this tag, there's, I think, 8 prompts, and I'll just jump right in. So the first prompt is The Great Railway Bazaar, a book featuring an epic journey. Yes, there's a lot of books I could have chosen for this because I love epic journeys. So, I didn't want to go too obvious. So I didn't pick Lord of the Rings, but I probably would have, or, maybe the Odyssey or the Aeneid, something like that. But instead, I'm just going to pick the book I'm reading right now because it has an epic journey, and that is Don Quixote. And yeah, I'm sure I'll talk a lot more about this book when I finish it. I'm only, 400 pages in right now, I think. 300 pages. No, 336. But this book is like so good. It's just so much funnier than I thought it would be. I know it's supposed to be funny, but it's like really, really funny. It's by far the funniest book I've ever read. And again, I just saw this on Brian's channel. He was talking about This Is Spinal Tap, specifically the Stonehenge scene. And that's what I thought of in this book, because it had a part where I was laughing like that. And I was like, this is the only other thing I could think of that compared to it was the Stonehenge scene from This Is Spinal Tap. So that's how funny this book was, or is. And it's amazing because it was written in 1605. At least book 1 was written in 1605, and book 2, I think, 10 years later. But yeah, the Cervantes is just a comic genius. This is so good. For the second prompt is brief encounter, still life. A brief or short book you could read while waiting for a train. I don't have a ton of short books. I tend to gravitate towards longer books, but I picked Soren Kierkegaard's Fear and Trembling, which is technically pretty short. It's pretty dense though, so I think you'd probably have a hard time getting through it before your train came. And it's honestly been a little while since I've read this one, perhaps maybe 5 or so years. It's 147 pages, but a great book, dealing with Abraham and the sacrifice of his son Isaac, or the near sacrifice as you see in that picture. And then number 3 is Bradshaw's Guide, a guidebook to a favorite place or thing. I kind of limited this to books on my shelf, and I do have a physical copy of this book, but I left it in America because there's no reason for me to use it in Thailand. So maybe it's still with my stuff at my parents' house. I'm not sure, but it would be a guide to the Superior Hiking Trail, which is I forget how long it is, maybe 200-mile trail that runs through northern Minnesota. And I've just got a lot of fond memories on that trail. I've been on it quite a few times in maybe my late 20s or early 30s, maybe throughout my 30s when I still lived in America. Early 30s, yeah. And I'd just gone on, some trips on that with some of my Peace Corps buddies. One of my friends, Kevin, and I did backpacking on that trail quite a few times. It's a beautiful trail, and there's so many secluded campsites on lakes where you're the only ones out there. So it's just really, really fun, really, really beautiful, and just have a great memory of after the Peace Corps coming back to America. And 2 of my Peace Corps buddies and I did maybe 3 or 4, 5 days on the trail, and it was just my friend Kevin, and then our other friend Rob passed away. It's been a while now, but it's just kind of a fond memory of spending time with those guys. But since I don't have that book here, I guess, and I live in Thailand, I would my second choice would be the National Geographic Traveler of Thailand. Now, a lot of people like Lonely Planet, and I'll be honest, I do have a copy of the Lonely Planet. It's not here though; it's at our office, I think. And I've never really been super into Lonely Planet, just because I'm not really. If I do backpacking, it's more the first kind I mentioned, where it's hiking and camping. But I'm not really into traveling that much. But when I did find out I was moving to Thailand when I joined the Peace Corps, I went to the bookstore. I think I was in Iowa City, and I grabbed this book here. And it was a great book. It told me a lot about Thailand. Had a lot of great pictures. It's probably the only book I've ever put actual notes in. I mean, I put sticky notes in because when I was working in America later, my boss was traveling to Thailand, and she had asked me to recommend some places for her. So I just gave her this book and then put some sticky notes in it, and she actually gave it back to me. So I still have it. I really liked it. I mean, it's by National Geographic, so it's gonna be pretty good. The next category, this is one of the more difficult ones for me to find. A romantic novel or a Western. Bonus points for being a romantic Western. Actually, now that something just popped into my head that might kind of fit into this. A few things did. I do have one here that I'll talk about, but now real quickly, actually 2 things just popped into my head. So these are the ones that literally just popped into my head. One would be Desert Solitaire by Edward Abbey. This is a nonfiction work though, and it's just about his time. He was spending time in the desert. He was he worked in a national park or something like that, but it wasn't a busy area. It was very secluded area. So that was quite good. Definitely not a Western, but it takes place in the West, and it looks kind of like a Western based on the cover. And then A Canticle for Leibowitz also takes place in the desert. Not technically a Western as well, though, but great book. Another one that comes to mind is Death Comes for the Archbishop by Willa Cather. Sorry, I can't think. And I didn't think of, I just thought of all those right now. But what I'm going to go with is what I'm calling a romance. And this is Fyodor Dostoevsky's The Idiot. Great cover. This is the Oxford edition and Oxford Classics and or World Classics. The painting on the front, those the Dead Christ. I forget who painted that, but it was I think in the like 15th century. It's a very lifelike. If you see the full painting, it's just like a like horizontal panel where it's just like a very lifelike corpse-like Christ laid out on a table. And I guess in real life, Dostoevsky went to see this painting and he was just transfixed by it. He stared at it for like hours and hours, his wife said. So I love that cover. But the reason I picked this is because in this book, our hero or the protagonist, Prince Mishkin, is kind of in love with two women. And I'll just read real quick from the introduction. I just flipped it open and it happened to be what I was looking for right before I started the video. So it says, whoever wrote this introduction is talking about Prince Mishkin is coming back to Russia. And it says, from the moment he enters Russia and is exposed to the passions and intrigues of the real world, he begins his inevitable decline as his humanity, suppressed over years of isolation, asserts itself. Mishkin, of course, resists this fall, but the process is unstoppable and the end result inescapable, for only Christ, and not merely a Christ-like figure, is without sin. Thus, Mishkin's Christian love for Natasha Flipanova, I'm sure I said that wrong, is gradually compromised by a growing sensual love for Aglaya, and his initial belief in the goodness of men yields to the realization, blah, blah, blah. So basically his love is split between this Christian love he has for kind of a fallen woman, a pretty crazy woman, and Natasha. Yeah, that's not actually her name. I think it's Natasha or something. I don't know how to say these Russian names. And he has, kind of a more natural love, or a more human love sensual love for Aglaya. So it's a romance as he's kind of split between those two characters. So that's a very poor excuse for a romance novel, but it is a very great novel. And then the fifth is Thomas the Tank Engine. And my son used to watch those a lot when he was young. We have some books and stuff too, but I remember we had a DVD with the old ones, like the George Carlin. George Carlin was actually the voice on, I can't remember if he's the narrator or one of the voices. I think he was the narrator of Thomas the Tank Engine. And those were like the kind of like more like live action or claymation. I don't know what they call that exactly, but those are good. So this is just a beloved children's book. For this, not exactly a children's book, I guess. It's more probably middle school, but this was Redwall. So I got into this series. Really, really love this series by Brian Jakes. And this is Martin the Warrior. I remember he was my favorite character. And so I think this was my favorite one of them. This is not my original copy. Unfortunately, I don't have those. Those covers were a bit better. But there was like an atrocious new cover, and I kind of found a middle ground with these ones when I bought these for my son. So these look closer to the classic covers. And then number 6 is The Signal Man, a ghost story or horror novel. I don't read a lot of horror novels or ghost stories. I do have some Stephen King on my shelf, but I haven't really read a lot of his more horror stuff, except I guess It would be the one that I've read. And I do like this book a lot. It's definitely a horror book, I guess, but it doesn't feel that much like a horror story to me, or it's not like strictly horror. There's a lot more going on than that. It's a huge book. So I guess that's what I would choose, but I would say like the creepiest thing I've read of late, or maybe ever, was actually when I was reading The Count of Monte Cristo recently. And there's only one part in the whole book, like it's not a creepy or horror or scary book, but there's a part where a stepmother attempts to poison her daughter while she's sleeping, and she's already poisoned some other members of the family. And the daughter, through The Count of Monte Cristo, she becomes aware of that. And so there's a scene where she's supposed to lay on her bed pretending like she's asleep while she sees her. She doesn't know who it's going to be. And then it's revealed to her, she sees that it's actually her stepmother coming to poison her. And I don't know, something about that scene is just so creepy. It kind of reminded me of The Sixth Sense too, where I think there's something in there where there's a mother poisoning her daughter as well. And that's something about that just really, really creeped me out. All right. And then after that, we have Strangers on a Train, a new book that you hope to read this year. Doesn't have to be published this year. I actually kind of forgot about this one. I didn't grab a book for this one. So let me turn around really quick, and I'm sure I can find something that actually, what I'll do is I'll stick with Alexander Dumas. So definitely not a new book. But this is The Three Musketeers. And yeah, we're doing kind of like a buddy read or a group read, I guess. Derek Green. Derek Green's the one who started it. The person who tagged me for this, and a bunch of us now are reading the Three Musketeers. I think mid-April is probably when we're going to kick it off. Yeah, a bunch of people are already involved, at least 5 or 6. So if you're interested in that, jump on in. And this will be my first time reading the Three Musketeers. All I've read of Dumas is The Count of Monte Cristo, which I just finished last month and I loved. So I'm really excited for this one as well. It feels like a nice place to go after Don Quixote as well. And then the final one here is The Mystery of the Blue Train, a book with a color in the title or on the cover. This one I had a hard time with. I have Ken Follett's Whiteout on the shelf. I think it's called Whiteout. Yeah, I think Mike did that. And I know Mike likes that book a lot. And I've not read it. I've read only like Follett's historical fiction, but I've never read anything else. I didn't include that. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a short story that I've seen it sold as a standalone book. And so this is from just a Dostoevsky short stories collection that I have. But the story is White Nights. So that definitely has color in it. White. I guess I've only got the color white in my books for some reason. But yeah, White Nights is what I'll choose. And now that I think about it, I don't think Mike chose Whiteout. I think he just talks about that book a lot. I think he chose A Clockwork Orange, and I don't have a copy of that book. So yeah, White Nights by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Cap it off with another Dostoevsky book. Yeah, that's it for this tag. So yeah, thanks again to Derek Green for tagging me. Please check out his video. And like I said, those other videos that I mentioned, Mike and Alex also did a great job. So maybe I'll just link to all 3 of those videos actually. Yeah, thanks so much for watching and have a great day. We'll see you later. Goodbye.